It all started with a salvage yard LS motor, torn down and machined, and built up on a total budget of $2,000. Today, the horsepower gang steps it up with an induction power upgrade for some serious dyno-proven power. Then it's off to the ultimate outlaw shootout, the Horsepower Orska Finals.
Still blown away that we could build an LS motor for less than $2,000 and make 386 horsepower right out of the gate.
Yeah, these LS engines are really impressive. And you know, we haven't worked on our LQ4 in quite some time. So before we get started on the next phase, we're going to give you a mind-refreshing recap to get you back up to speed. Our visit to certified auto recyclers in northern Alabama was a wise first step. Now, they found us a healthy LQ4 6-liter from an 05 GMC truck. And after cleaning it up and packing it up for us, we were ready to tear it down and clean up the reusable parts. Then after Buddy honed the block, we gave it a bath and everything was ready for assembly. The only parts we replaced were the bearings, gaskets, timing set, and plugs. The factory computer and harness were included in our recycled motor package, but because of our plans to make modifications down the road, we installed a custom harness and computer from Howell Engine Developments. On the dyno, the motor made an amazing 386 horsepower and 396 foot-pounds of torque. But that was facilitated by the Spectre intake and long tube headers.
Well, in any event, we're going to try to step it up today with a trio of performance upgrades that includes a hydraulic roller camshaft, some stiffer valve springs, and improved roller rockers. It's a package that'll work on just about any LS motor project you got going. Of course, we all know that the camshaft is the heart of any engine, but it's probably one of the most misunderstood parts too. So let's go back to basics with some animation and see what this guy's job is and how a change in the profile can change the power outlook.
A typical pushrod motor places the camshaft just above the crankshaft, a chain or belt controlling the timing. The cam spins once for every 2 rotations of the crank. When a piston moves downward in the intake stroke, the intake valve opens to fill the cylinder with the air-fuel mix, then closes as the piston bottoms out. On the combustion stroke, the piston compresses the mix, the spark plug ignites the fuel, the exhaust valve opens until the piston completes the exhaust stroke, evacuating the cylinder. This event can be modified by changing the stock cam to a high-performance cam with more lift and duration. Duration refers to how long the cam-actuated valve stays open. Lift refers to how far the cam pushes the valve off the seat. If the intake valve stays open longer and farther into the cylinder, especially at higher RPMs, there's more combustion and a faster running engine, with rougher idle as a trade-off.
Of course, other factors come into play like valve timing and lobe separation, which affects the bottom versus higher RPM power. Now, our choice in this upgrade, a Comp Cam's hydraulic roller. Now, the card that comes with the cam provides information such as duration at 50 thousandths lift. Ours is 220 on the intake, 224 on the exhaust, and that compares to 196 and 201 on a stock cam. Oh, lobe separation. Ours is 112, and that's a really good balance for the street. Of course, a more aggressive camshaft puts more stress on the valve springs. This is a new generation of Comp's Beehive spring with a little more lift capability and pressure to put more control on the cam. Now, the SLP rockers have a ratio of 1.85 compared to a stock 1.7. Now, that means this pushrod cup here is closer to the fulcrum, allowing the valve to open up a little bit more. We get started by removing the coil pack connectors, then the packs themselves. Now the valve covers can go, along with the top valve train pieces. Up front, don't let your shoes get wet. Here comes the water pump. Then the balancer, spark plugs, and now we want to rotate the engine to #1 TDC and align the timing marks before pulling off the cam gear, chain, and the cam plate.
Here's where a cam swap on an LS engine is easier than many others. The oil pump can stay bolted up, the timing chain doesn't have to go anywhere, and by rotating the camshaft pushes the lifters up into the retainers where they're supposed to stay.
To further reduce the chance of one falling out though, Buddy takes his time removing the stock cam. Then with the new one oiled up, it's ready to go in. According to Comp, the basic operating range of this cam is between 1,600 and 66 RPMs. Say, before we move on, here's an LS engine tip that could save you time and money. We've learned on the internet that a lot of guys have had oil pressure issues with these motors after building them up, and guess what? We found out what they were talking about firsthand. When we first fired up our LQ4, we had plenty of oil pressure. Then a few minutes later, the second time we fired it, that pressure mysteriously went away. It took Buddy some inside investigation to find the fix.
Build on a budget. Horsepower projects that save you time and money.
The problem was here in the oil pickup. Now we removed it to double check the O-ring, which was fine until we reinstalled it on the engine. Due to the bolt locations, we had to pry the pickup forward to mate up with the pump. Apparently that was distorting our O-ring and allowing air to get by. To fix this, we elongated this bolt hole and enlarged this one. This allowed the pickup to center itself on the pump, allowing the O-ring to seal, and now we have good oil pressure.
Horsepower's back with the finale of our LQ4 valve train upgrade. With a steady flow of compressed air to keep our valves closed, Buddy puts a special tool in place that's made especially for the LS. Then snugs it down to tighten up the stock springs. That way he can remove the locks, pull out the old springs, and drop in the new ones. Now he can replace the locks and we're done with the tool. Finally, a few taps of the hammer to make double sure the locks are secure. Of course, the real advantage of these beehive springs is in their design, taller than stock, and they've got a wider base for stability, and the narrow end is where most of the movement occurs during opening and closing of the valves. Now, are we still going to reuse our stock retainers?
Yeah, we're going to save a few bucks so we can keep the retainers in the locks.
All right. Now, you can use those new titanium retainers and save a little weight, though. We're also reusing these perfectly good push rods and want to push down a little bit, make sure the lifter goes down on the cam again. Now, that done, we can put this plate on and move on to the new rockers.
These SLP rockers are self-aligning, and since the stock lifters are hydraulic, no valve lashing is required. We just tighten the rockers to 22 foot-pounds.
Well, finally the computer's ready. Now, before we started this phase of the project, we gave a call to Hal, told them our plans, sent the box back to them. They reprogrammed it, rushed it back, and we're now ready to make some horsepower. Let's look at that last run on our graph here. Of course, the green line represents torque, which came on pretty strong at the beginning, fell off a little bit, and then peaked at about 5,300 RPMs. Of course, the white line is our horsepower. We got that 411 at about 5,500 RPM. Okay, buddy, let's look at one of those earlier screens.
This is one of our baseline runs from a few weeks ago.
Of course, the motor was made for truck use, and you can see here it's making plenty of low-end torque up here to 4,300 RPM where it peaks out. The white line's horsepower again, and it peaks at 5,600, just like on that last run where we made 25 more horsepower than this. Well, there's always a little bit of a trade-off of horsepower and torque when you do a performance cam swap. But that's it for our LQ4 project for now. Coming up, we're going to take you to a race that's got our name on it. It's the Horsepower Orska World Finals. We'll see you there.
Hey, from the House of Hook to your house, we're back in South Carolina for the Horsepower Orska Finals.
Yeah, and first we're going to see what it took one of the hottest racers in Easy Street to make it here, fighting for his first championship.
Is that Steve Jackson?
It is.
Awesome.
if there's a chance to be working on a car, racing a car, tuning a car, driving a car, I'm in it. Ever since I could walk and talk, all I wanted to do was race cars.
Say hello to Steve Jackson, this year's most remarkable rookie in the Radial Tire Easy Street class. Here in the season finale of Heads Up 8th Mile Drag Racing, he's on the verge of a world title, a long way from the depressing season debut months ago.
We qualified bad. We went out first round and everybody was laughing at us and stuff and kind of licked my wounds all the way home. And I said, well, we got a couple weeks off till the next race. This isn't going to happen again.
When it didn't, Steve went on to win an astounding 5 races in a row, even after changing from his Pro Charger to nitrous, then back to the Pro Charger.
A lot of people know how to go fast, and you got to know how to win.
Dang good driver. He's a nut, and the boy's smart. Steve is the motivator. He keeps you going. He's going to drive you and push you to the limit.
It's really hard to find a group of guys who like racing as much as I do that are willing to put in the hours that it takes.
It's an amazing thing to be part of his life and part of his hobby and be here with him. It's very exciting, and I love it.
I think all we need to do is go around today. We should start the championship up, but that's not how we look at it. We come out here to race. We want to win the race, and I want to set the record for the end of the day. You know, one of the coolest things about racing, my favorite part, is the burnout. Here we go, let's get it done. All right, that's not what we wanted. That is not what we needed. The Radial tire is kind of like a hockey puck on ice. It's hard, track's cold. We piled about 10,000 pounds in the back of the car. Took some power out when we try to get the car to move. If it'll move about 10 feet, I believe we can put whatever we want to it. Woo, that feels good.
But again, the Mustang stumbles on this first critical round of qualifying.
Right now, we're in the crapper.
Not exactly. Steve does have championship sewed up, but it's a long way to the final weekend win light. And finals are coming up. Stay with us.
Hey, welcome back. Now, just in case you want to drop an LS engine into your classic muscle car, check this out. Hedman Headers and BRP Hot Rods have joined forces to create this muscle rod kit, which allows dropping an LS engine into your ride a painless process without a lot of trial and error. Now, this kit is designed for second-generation F-bodies, and it includes a set of mid-length headers, transmission crossmember, plus engine, frame, and transmission mounts. Now, all the mounts have urethane bushings, and they wrap this kit up with all grade 8 hardware.
Here's an LS upgrade that got our attention. It's an LSX multi-piece component intake from Fast, made to deliver more horsepower without sacrificing drivability or low-end torque. It's got injector ports for nitrous, and it will accept a larger throttle body for more fuel flow. How much more power, though? Well, we're going to find out next week when we install this one on our LS motor. Right now, though, we got to go to the races.
Italian wings, lemon pepper wings, barbecue wings, all kind of wings. You got it, we winging it, baby. We winging it, we winging it.
Hey, welcome back to Horsepower's Orchestra Finals at the House of Hook.
Right now, to check out some of the outrageous qualifying runs leading to eliminations today. The track was cold, the winds were gusty, and for some, the 8-mile path to the finish line was tricky turf, literally. 24 of the fastest 10.5 outlaw cars in the country came to compete. And while a few racers had headaches figuring out the track, others had a heyday running through the record books. Here in Saturday's Round 2 qualifying, Chuck Ulsh does the undoable. A 4.18 ET at 183 miles an hour in his supercharged Camaro. Tim Lynch may have lost the record, but he found the formula for consistent runs Here knocking out points champ Joe Newsham in the semis, setting up a showdown with Ulsh in the finals. And with a better reaction time, Lynch lays down just enough to win by 16 thousandths of a second.
I didn't think the numbers were possible this weekend, but the air and the track cooperated, and we put a hell of a show on for everybody.
You could hear the sound of records falling all weekend. Well, this time it was a door. Jeff Cooner had been wheel-standing his way to the semifinals, and then defeats Darren Hoyle with a 486 to win the event.
Man, it was a wild weekend. Probably the best race I've been to all year.
Oh, and what about the Easy Street rookie from Georgia? That young racing junkie hoping his Pro-Charged pony helps add a 6th straight win to his points championship.
No matter what happens today, I'm so proud of him. There couldn't be any more. I couldn't be any more proud.
And there was plenty to be proud of as Jackson and his Mustang rode their way through each round of eliminations with just enough horsepower and luck to win and earn a spot in the finals. Then a funny thing happened on the way back from the burnout.
The guys radioed to me when I was backing up and said it's broke, it's popping out the exhaust, shut it off, and I said, hell no, it's already broke. I said, I'm gonna make him outrun me. Got to the finals, broken exhaust valve. We're happy, we had a good year. I hated we missed 6 in a row, that was gonna be my perfect end of my season, but we're still happy with it. It's just fun, we're fortunate to be able to do what we enjoy, you know. Not everybody, people in Iraq aren't drag racing tonight.
Hey, next week on Horsepower, we take our budget LS motor to a new power level with an EFI induction upgrade. Can we break the 500 horse barrier this time? Gotta watch and see. Then you've heard about the environmental advantages of E85 fuel. We'll show you how to convert your carb to burn it and crank out some eye-opening horsepower numbers. All next week here on Horsepower TV.